Hey, it's Dave Altavilla for HotHardware here with a bit of new gaming notebook technology from the folks at Nvidia. Their GeForce Max-Q design technology, which aims to squeeze ever more powerful GPUs into thinner and lighter gaming notebooks. The first incarnation of which here is the ASUS Zephyrus, a 15-inch machine that weighs just 5 pounds and sports a GeForce GTX 1080 GPU under its hood. It's thin, it's light, and it claims to be really fast. Let's take a look.
The ASUS ROG Zephyrus is a full-fledged gaming notebook that strikes more of an ultrabook profile. ASUS presents the machine in typical Republic of Gamers style with a snazzy box, a small Phillips head screwdriver for the bottom plate of the machine, which we'll look at shortly, a USB 3 gigabit Ethernet dongle, standard lit pack with ROG stickers for bling, and a stout but not completely massive AC adapter power brick. And though it may seem a little out of place, you get this black rubber wrist rest. More on that wrist rest shortly, but let's turbo mode a few specs out of the way here first. This 4.85-pound machine is only 17 millimeters thick, but on board it's rocking a quad-core Intel Core i7 7700HQ processor that boosts to 3.8 GHz, 16 GB of DDR4 2400 MHz memory, a 512 GB NVMe SSD, as well as copious I/O options, including a Thunderbolt 3 Type-C port, 4 USB 3.1 ports, and an HDMI 2.0 port. However, the real muscle delivering the punch for this very portable powerhouse is Nvidia's GeForce GTX 1080 GPU with Max-Q design technology. According to Nvidia, Max-Q design requires the GPU to operate within the sweet spot range of the performance and power consumption curve that yields the best overall performance with the highest power efficiency. Max-Q design aims for the best performance obtainable at these settings, and along with advanced cooling solutions and better power regulation, it allows manufacturers like ASUS to build more powerful, thinner, lighter, and quieter laptops. And indeed, compared to virtually all other gaming notebooks with even remotely similar horsepower, the ASUS Zephyrus sits in stark, super svelte contrast. Part of the machine's Max-Q cooling solution, however, resides above the keyboard area of the Zephyrus, where a perforated aluminum plate allows air ventilation and a large surface area for the cooling system underneath it. It also pushes the keyboard of the machine to the very bottom edge of the laptop, which completely eliminates the keyboard palm rest area and pushes the trackpad off to the right side, which is where that wrist rest comes in. It helps make up for the lack of palm rest area in the keyboard, but there's no question you're in for a bit of learning curve typing on the Zephyrus, especially where the trackpad is concerned. Keycaps do have a nice level of travel and feel pretty good, however, and that trackpad has a nifty feature on board. With the press of a button, it converts into an illuminated numpad. Pretty slick, right? Another slick feature of the machine is its bottom side cooling system. If you look in the bottom of the notebook, you see zero venting actually, with only a small vent on the right edge of the machine. However, looking at the Zephyrus from a side view, while lifting its lid, you see there's a small cam system that lifts the machine's chassis up and separates it from the bottom plate, exposing a cool air gap on each side edge and the back of the machine. Dubbed the AAS, or Active Aerodynamic System, this coupled with ASUS's Aero Accelerator blower style fans that are claimed to push 33% more air with 71 blades per fan, and the result is a relatively quiet cooling system. It also exhibited very little, if any, throttling beyond the downclocked specs of the GeForce GTX 1080 with Max-Q design. ASUS also chose a nice panel type for the machine's 15.6-inch display. Its AHVA, or Advanced Hyper Viewing Angle panel type, is similar to IPS. In fact, it's a variant of IPS with faster response times and solid contrast and viewing angles, but maybe not quite the saturation or punch color-wise versus standard IPS. However, it seems like an excellent trade-off here that also comes with 120 Hz refresh rate and Nvidia G-Sync support, and far superior general performance versus a plain old TN panel. Performance-wise, the ASUS Zephyrus with its GeForce GTX 1080 Max-Q packs a whole lot of punch for its welterweight stature. With its quad-core Intel Kaby Lake CPU, fast NVMe SSD, and 16 GB of RAM, it of course chews through content creation and office productivity tasks just fine. But Rise of the Tomb Raider at native 1080p res at high image quality north of 130 frames per second over G-Sync And this machine's 120Hz panel sure does look buttery. And so does Gears of War 4 at 1080p Ultra with 110 frames per second performance, where the Coalition never looked so lightning fast and vicious. Stepping through synthetics, 3D Mark TimeSpy shows the Zephyrus is up to the task of DX12 rendering and then some, with performance about 10 to 12% faster than a full-sized GeForce GTX 1070 equipped gaming notebook, but about 15% slower than a full-blown GeForce GTX 1080 setup in a beastly machine like the Alienware 17. And that's right about where the gaming performance of the new ASUS Zephyrus lands overall, with not quite but still impressive GeForce GTX 1080-like performance in a much thinner, lighter, and sleeker package. Just don't expect battery life to be anything stellar. Its 50 watt-hour 4-cell battery is just a tad too thin and light as well for the horsepower on board this machine. That said, it's pretty remarkable what ASUS and Nvidia have been able to achieve with the Zephyrus and its GeForce GTX 1080 Max-Q. For $2699 as tested, it definitely has a loaded for bear gaming notebook price tag, but with a delightfully thin and light design, super premium build quality, and understated good looks. If you can get up the learning curve with its unorthodox keyboard setup and stingy battery life, you won't find a more portable gaming notebook on the market right now with this kind of raw firepower. But make sure you stop by HotHardware.com for our full detailed write-up on the Zephyrus. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this review, and hit the subscribe button for more gaming hardware review glory, tech event coverage, and our zany 2.5 Geeks webcast. It's Dave Altavilla for Hot Hardware with the ASUS ROG Zephyrus gaming laptop. Thanks for stopping by.